In the mid-19th century, the British aristocrat Lord Radstock was staying in a hotel in Norway. One evening, he heard the sound of a piano being played horribly in the hallway downstairs. He looked and saw a little girl who was making the most terrible noise. He was normally a patient man, but slowly the continuous racket began to drive him mad. As he watched, a man approached and sat down beside her. Rather than stop the little girl's efforts, the man began to play, constructing chords alongside her. With each keystroke, his playing complemented her notes, and suddenly a breathtaking sound filled the whole hotel. He took her mistakes and discord and turned it into something utterly beautiful. As Lord Radstock later found out, the man playing alongside the girl was her father, the famous 19th century Russian composer, Alexander Borodin.
Often as we look back, we can see that God can use our mistakes, and goodness, I've made so many of them. God didn't put me in prison, I did. God didn't make me get 2 divorces, I did. But He's helped me all the way through it. You know, dysfunctional parents, alcoholics, thrown out when I was 15 through an argument with my father, moved into a squat with a gang, got in trouble with the police, ended up with a prison sentence, came out of there, joined the army at 21, 2 marriages, 2 divorces, almost alcoholic, from being bullied at school to joining the army boxing team and being a bully in a uniform. My mother died. I hadn't seen my mum since I was a kid. She got ill. She had cancer. My mum and dad were both heavy smokers and heavy drinkers. A long story short, again, she got put into hospital. I had about 10 days with her and she died. She had a massive sort of tumour and just fell asleep in my arm. And that was a catalyst for me, really, to start thinking about stuff. And that set me on a journey. And then shortly after that, a friend of mine said, "You've got lots of questions, you should probably try an Alpha course." 16 years in the army. I've jumped out of airplanes, I've done rifle courses, I've done military, I've done courses on everything. I'll do a course on God. And I remember just sitting there listening to these talks, and I thought, do you know what? I've never heard any of this stuff. It was all completely new to me. And I prayed. And my prayer was, if you're up there and all this stuff is true, and you can make me a better man, you can make me a better character, you could make me hopefully a faithful husband, a good father, someone who people would like, then you know what, let's go for it. And then things started to change. Really weird stuff was going through my head. I thought, I've lived with my girlfriend 8 years. Maybe we should get married. We talked about it and we got married. Prayed and got my son back in my life, who left when he was 3. He's now 36 and living with us. And now I've got a 18-year-old daughter who's gorgeous. I mean, if you'd have told me, a few years ago that I would be a vicar in the Church of England, I'd have said, you're completely crazy. It was the furthest thing from it wasn't even in my mind. I still have to pinch myself at times. So I'm working with people now who really I've been around most of my life. A lot of people I can relate to. I work with the homeless, those affected with mental health issues, those in prison, those coming out of prison through a charity called Caring for Ex-Offenders. And I was presented with an MBE for me, which I think is really exciting, for working with ex-offenders. And to be honoured like that is extraordinary. And it's what God says, I have a good and perfect plan for your life. Plan to prosper you and not to harm you. Plan to give you hope and a future. And He says that He will never leave us nor forsake us. And that for me is what keeps me going.
Often it's as you look back on your life that you see God has been guiding you. He has a purpose for your life. And as you read the Bible, as you listen to the Spirit, as you talk to friends, as you think and watch, your life has a purpose.
And you'll make a difference, and you'll have a greater impact than you probably ever realise. And one day God will say to you, well done, you've reached your destination.